Hey Taurus, welcome to Pure Tarot. I'm doing your June reading. I have a set of 4 decks with different kinds of messages so that we can explore different avenues for you for the month. I'm gonna start with the Forest of the Fae, these cute little cards with kind of magical messages if you wish. You'll see. So I'm gonna shuffle and hopefully there's a card that will fall out. Just have to give it a little time. I'm gonna pull. Let's pull. I'm cutting the deck in 3 and I'm taking the first one on top. It says, the Numina seek inspiration in twilight wanderings. Numina is like the breath, right? Numen, almost like spirit. What's interesting here is the twilight. So dusk and dawn, or even maybe the wee hours of the night. So I guess inspiration comes to you at odd moments. That's interesting. Or when basically we're talking about liminal spaces, right? The in-between worlds, the moments when the veil is thin, things like that. Maybe you're very comfortable in those moments. 3 cards fell. Okay, these are my French makeshift decks, so I'm going to translate the words. This is Équerre. That's like a, you know those special sort of rulers, they're used for drafting basically. And they have like a 90-degree angle. Usually they're like a triangle and you use them when you do drafting. But équerre is really like the 90-degree angle. So, you know, if you think in astrology, it would be a square, T-square. Probably you can think of the opposition if we're really thinking about that tool I'm describing, this particular shape of the triangle. This would be the opposition with the square. Then we have contact, no need for translation here, and then oasis, which I've drawn for another sign I've done earlier on. So very, very different keywords here, almost difficult to amalgamate, right? And it's interesting because I go back to this T-square analogy. Usually those energies are sort of conflicting, or, you know, there's friction, there's tension, but there's a lot of energy being produced because of those particular aspects. So where it ties in is the idea of contact. So the contact does exist. I guess it's singular because it's more maybe quote unquote difficult. It could also be you know, when you think of the 90-degree angle, it's a very solid angle. You know, a lot of the buildings are built on 90-degree frames, right? On the idea that you have verticals and horizontals. So there's the notion of solidity as well. But I'm really more focusing here maybe on the astrological analogy of the opposition squares, T-square, contact. And then we have this oasis energy, which to me, because it refers to me maybe to life, a very, you know, rare occasion or something very small amidst something more vast that would be extremely different. So again, maybe the idea that you have two different set of energies that are working, that are trying to work together, but that are not blending so well. So I'm referring like to the oasis inside of the desert, but it's also a place full of life, where there's water, so it's very nurturing. So I was describing how, let's say, a T-square operates. It's not obvious. It's usually something that you have to work through, but the rewards are much more gratifying than maybe a softer aspect, such as a sextile, a trine. So it's really interesting that it's bringing up, for me at least, a lot of astrology. Well, it's bringing up the notions of aspects in astrology. Let's get some tarot and maybe these words will, you know, most likely take on a different meaning. Might be able to build different correspondences once we have some tarot on the table. Let's see. A big pile. I'm gonna take it. Okay. Three of Pentacles. I'll show you the cards after. Queen of Swords, the Nine of Pentacles reversed, the Six of Pentacles in reverse, the Five of Swords, the Two of Wands in reverse, the Six of Wands, the Magician, and the Knight of Swords. So in terms of character, we have the Queen of Swords and the Knight of Swords. We do have the Magician. So those would be the protagonists, quote unquote, but it doesn't have to be. It's mainly two. The Magician could be read more as an energy, but let's look at this more closely. So I'm sensing you're having a lot of really new ideas. They feel new, and yet they feel like you're building on something that you, abilities that you possess here with the Three of Pentacles. And the new ideas is maybe you embodying the Queen of Swords energy, and usually, you know, sort of mapping out a project, or, you know, building a structure, or at least maybe rearranging your own maybe schedule, looking into breaking down let's say it's a project. Let's take something like an example here, breaking down the parts, and maybe even thinking of delegating who could do what, you know, or even who could help you do what. And I'm saying help because it is beside the Three of Pentacles, so you would definitely dig within your own resources, you know, and utilize all of your talents, but as well the talents of others, you know, and use them, well, use their contribution to fuel your own project, or whatever this endeavor is. You know, it feels like it's something that you're creating. I really have the words mapping out. It feels right to say like it's mapping out something. It also feels, like I said, it's something that's not totally foreign to you, but meaning that you've probably played with this idea for a while in your mind, but you are newly acquainted to it now, in terms of really maybe delving into it, and maybe moving it to action. In the middle here, we have a series of cards that are much more difficult, that remind me of the T-square aspects we were describing before. So you might have had situations, so either singular, plural. They could be in one sphere of your life, they could be in different spheres of your life. But you would have experienced feeling not self-sufficient, kind of stuck where you are, because probably lacking in literally financial means. It could have been one of the reasons you could have felt a lack of freedom, a lack of, you know, sort of independence and autonomy. There might have been also some discouragement with the Two of Wands in reverse. I use the word discouragement because almost like losing sight of this project, right? Maybe even losing sight of putting it into action, almost like giving up on a dream kind of energy, right? And it might have come from experiencing some conflicts. It doesn't have to be full-fledged fights or arguments, but you would have, what I'm sensing like a form of resistance. It could be your own resistance, you know, a lot of mental battles within your own self, right? Especially mentally, because of the swords. So if you didn't experience it outwardly, it could have been internal. And it reminds me, if you do have a T-square in your chart, right, which is maybe what these initial cards were pointing at, this écart, you know, you would definitely feel acquainted or familiar with what I'm describing about having these back and forths, you know, us like really like debating, or wanting something and then not wanting it, or thinking positively and then having a negative thought, or, you know, that kind of duality, if you wish. I think it also comes from, you know, if you're lacking in funds, it's more difficult maybe to feel confident. I'm not sure I want to use confidence, but it does touch on confidence. But it also pertains to, you know, feeling limited. And that can feel, how can I express this? It's not always an obvious thing, right? Because you might have been very apt and very adept at and very capable at, how do you say, like making ends meet and like making do with what you have and making the best of what with what you have, right? So it's a good thing because you don't, you're savvy enough, you're like sort of inventive enough to, like, you know, work around your, maybe, let's say, lack of funds, for instance, because of that Nine of Pentacles. But still, you would feel like you're being slowed down in what you actually are able to project, you know, like in terms of how you see things can actually be or become, or where you would like to be headed, you know. And having this amazing foresight with the Queen of Swords, she's really able to see far, really in space and time almost. So you would have felt dragged down, or, you know, held back, and that could cause a lot of frustration almost, like so this sort of energy of the Five of Swords, of you know, feeling like everything is an uphill battle, like even finding maybe some, at times, that your life is a struggle. You know, it's all relative, but, you know, I'm not describing something major, but definitely you would have felt this energy. So I'm using the past tense, but it's difficult for me. I mean, we're looking at June, so it could be something that you experience in June, but it could also be energies that you've dealt with before. And I say that because I was describing to you that you're developing new ideas, but you're also building on something that an idea that you've already had for a while, that I sense that you would have carried with you from maybe before, right? Before June, at least. I don't know how long ago, but so there's a mix here of still having this sort of same dichotomy, going through the same kind of, okay, I'm maybe not, maybe you don't have, like I said, enough money for, let's say, a down payment on a house. It could be just, you know, like having a little grant, you know, either for going back to school, for instance, you know, a student loan. It could be any form of subsidies or financial help. What's really beautiful, the three last cards, you have the Six of Wands, the Magician, and the Knight of Swords. So at some point, you're gonna feel much more empowered with the Magician card. And I'm tempted to say that there's something to, it has to do with this oasis. It's almost like you hit this pocket, right, where suddenly it's like you get a break, you get I don't know, a little stroke of luck, or you get that grant, or you get maybe, you know, maybe not something big, but just enough to give you that little push. And it sort of gives you this ability to start really creating. So let's say you didn't have any, I'll go back to the example of, you know, you're starting a project, right? And you did need some money to maybe start investing, and or just to get the startup going, for instance. Suddenly, because things are, no matter how small, because they're suddenly turning into something very concrete that you can actually work with, and not just your ideas and your planning. You start really like, how do you say, like you're hands-on, right? You're dabbling. Then the energy shifts for you, and it's this sort of oasis of, suddenly you're in a place where things are very, they start blooming, they start, you know, you become alive again almost. And it gives you a sense of success. It gives you a sense of achievement. It's very gratifying, very rewarding, self-rewarding. It could be seen as, you know, you're getting accolades and people are noticing that you're doing better, that you're doing well, that you're progressing, or that they're also noticing that, you know, you're creating something tangible that they actually can, you know, you can talk about, show. You know, let's say it's a product, a service, whatever. There's actually something there that you've started offering. But without just being outside recognition, I think the first and foremost, like the most important victory here is this victory for yourself, right? Feeling very, very proud. I sense a lot of healthy pride in your accomplishments. Beautiful energy. And all of this movement, actually, maybe said differently, now that you've actually taken the baby steps, and that there's actually like building blocks, and that you can actually like say, well, I've done this, and then now I can build on this, and I'm actually doing step 2, for instance, or whatever it is, right? I'm just trying to work with the example and develop the idea. There's more and more momentum picking up. The Knight of Swords is showing me that things are really picking up. It's moving you forward. It's making you blaze. I have the word blaze. That's beautiful. It gives you wings. I think I feel lighter already. The energy of the Knight of Swords is very uplifting here. So is the Magician, right? There's something very aerial and very, how can I say? You know, effortless. It's very easy, like beautiful flow here. I love that. Also, you know, at the onset, there's a queen, right? I think the queen is, like I said, much more in her head, planning things, right? Organizing, and versus the knight here, I'm sensing that you're I'm gonna use the word, you're on the battlefield. Maybe just you're on the field, you're in the field, better said. There's no battle here per se. The internal battle is let's say it could be ongoing. It could be you might have some ups and downs, or like it might come back to a certain degree. But I also sense that you've overcome that in a broader sense. So if it does come back, it's very small, and it could be easily surmounted, because you're actually somewhere else in the project. You're somewhere else with this thing. You're actually you're living it out, right? So a lot of either like tensions or whatever doubts you had, or you know, which were happening inside your mind, those are disappearing, because you're in the moment, you're in reality, you're absolutely living it out, and by being in the present, you're much more I don't know, like I keep going back to the oasis. You're in a place where it's safe, it's comfortable, not comfortable to the point of being lazy, comfortable in the sense that safe, it's contained, and I want to go back to the word contact. It points back again to reality, to really like being able to feel things out, touch them, really mold, like literally, you know, if you're, I don't know, using a hammer and building something, you know, whatever it is, I'm just using that as an example. It doesn't have to be all physical, let's say, quote unquote 3D, like let's say building a house or something like that. It could still be, let's say you're building a business, right? Let's say you're working online. It could still be within the virtual realms, but there's still something very concrete. And what's really concrete is, let's say, you actually like getting on the computer, emailing, doing transactions, speaking on the phone, whatever it is, there's something really real about it. And I think there's more contact, like face-to-face interactions, also physical movements with the Knight of Swords. There's definitely, you're going places, you're mobile, you're moving around. It's really funny. I just want to show you something. It's a weird kind of thought, but I'm still going to put it out there. You know, the Six of Wands has this particular staff, especially, then the Magician has his wand, and then here the Knight of Swords has his sword. And if you look at the pictures, that all three are raised. And the word that came to mind was antenna, like broadcasting. It's really strange. In a good way. It could be that you're broadcasting your thoughts, your ideas. You know, you would definitely be communicating, even with the Knight of Swords. And ultimately, even the Magician could be speaking, right? Because your words, words create reality, right? So there's something about speaking up. Let's get a love oracle for you. I just want to go back to the idea of the antenna, broadcasting, speaking, and speaking your truth and speaking your desires out loud to make them manifest. I want to go to the twilight. I think there's more power at certain hours of the day, namely moments of twilight, like dawn and dusk. Maybe even nighttime. It all depends on who you are and what the nature of what you're doing is. But there's something there. You know, this was the Numina, and I said to you, it's the breath and it's the spirit. It's almost like the same thing as speaking the words, right? I have the word, I'm hearing, you're not wasting your breath. This matters. This matters. Whatever you're doing matters. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't just matter to you. It has an impact. It creates ripple effects. There, finally, that love oracle came out. The warrior of love. I got this for Aries. This is so funny. Okay, I'll read out of the book. It's really worth it. The text is beautiful. There's a lot. Okay. It says, I am unstoppable in my pursuit. The love story is, he climbs upon his mighty steed bareback and rides off into uncertain territory with a lofty pursuit, a quest for love. Insatiable, unstoppable, gaining traction on his way. It does sort of point to this Knight of Swords, right? Sort of this energy of conquest. He will ride until the night turns to day. Some things are worth fighting for, and this knight cloaked in the armor of love will endure. He will journey into... I'm sorry, I'm destroying the text. He will journey until he finds love forevermore. The action, take the journey. So there's definitely, I was telling you, you're getting around, you're moving around, and there's definitely contact. So take the journey, whatever that means. If it means going to see an old friend or the one you long for, if it means taking that much needed you time, or if you need to run and see him and let him know exactly how you feel. Move forward. Now is the time for action in matters of the heart. The meditation says, climb upon your steed and ride into into your sunset. Feel the light radiating upon you. And the affirmation, I am strong, relentless, and a fierce warrior of love. Here on the left, this text. I don't know if it's clear, visible. So this is the reading for you. You know, this is a love oracle, this warrior of love, but when you think about it, it's the energy of really going towards what you want with a very strong and a burning desire, right? To move it forward. So it's quite beautiful. It ties in with this energy at the end of, you know, shifting from something that was an idea into real action and living it out fully. And the word fully is important because there's a lot of, you know, there's breath, there's words, and there's this fiery energy of desire. So it's an extremely, I don't know, it feels like a this magma, I don't know. If you like the video, I do share, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you for being here.